The name Daniel was once spoken by my wife, Emily, with a tenderness that settled in my chest like a warm sunrise. Each morning, her voice was soft, promises of a lifetime together wrapped in every word. On quiet nights, she'd whisper my name, her breath close, making me feel untouchable, invincible. But tonight was different. Tonight, my name cut through the silence like a blade, cold, sharp, and unfamiliar. It wasn't the voice I loved. It carried venom, a poison I couldn't ignore. I woke suddenly. The bed beside me was empty. Emily was gone. At first, I told myself she was downstairs or in the bathroom. But then, a faint sound, low, deliberate whispers, drifted through the dark hallway. My heart slammed against my ribs as I sat up, every nerve screaming alert. It was her voice. But not just any voice, words I wasn't meant to hear. He still has no idea. The chill that washed over me wasn't just fear. It was a tidal wave of dread crashing into every hope I'd ever held. I moved silently, heart pounding like a drum in my chest, every step on the cold wooden floor magnifying the dread knotting my stomach. The whispers led me to the door of Emily's home office. A sliver of light spilled through the crack, and I pressed my back to the wall, holding my breath, desperate to catch every word. "Yeah, I've already sent it," came her voice, calm, calculating, the kind of voice that hides storms. "It's all going as planned, almost done." Almost done. My throat tightened. Sent what? What was almost done? I barely dared to breathe. Then, footsteps. Panic surged, and I retreated quietly to the bedroom, pulling the covers over my head as the door creaked open. Emily slipped in, moving with the ease of someone who hadn't just been weaving secrets in the shadows. I closed my eyes, forcing calm, pretending to be asleep, though my mind screamed questions I dared not ask. The mattress dipped beside me, her steady breathing was a cruel mockery of the chaos inside me. She was hiding something. Something dark. Something that threatened us both. Morning came with a heavy silence. While Emily still slept, I crept into the kitchen, phone in trembling hands. I'd always trusted her, she handled the bills, the accounts, the investments, and I'd never questioned it. But today, that trust felt fragile, like glass underfoot. Opening our banking app, numbers stared back at me, withdrawals I couldn't explain. Hundreds, then thousands, disappearing over months. Not large sums, but enough to scream that something was wrong. My hands gripped the counter, knuckles white. These weren't for bills or investments. This money was vanishing, slipping through my fingers like smoke. Before I could process, Emily's voice cut through the haze. "Just checking the accounts," she said, leaning casually against the doorway, a tired smile masking everything. Her eyes flicked to my phone. A shadow passed, brief but sharp. "Oh, those? Just some small investments I forgot to mention," she shrugged, avoiding my gaze. Her charm was a weapon I once believed in. Now, it was a mask I saw through. That evening, I watched her like a hawk. Her phone was always face down, guarded like a secret. She stepped outside for hushed calls, voice urgent but careful to hide the truth. Then, the moment came. Emily announced she was heading to shower and, for the first time, left her phone unattended on the kitchen table. My heart hammered, but I forced calm. Seconds ticked by. Then, I picked up the phone, fingers trembling. A message lit the screen. "Send her Ilian Morrow. Make sure he stays in the dark. Almost done." My grip tightened. Ilian Morrow? Who was that? And what did almost done mean? A cold dread sank into my bones. The shower ran in the background, a distant hum. Emily wasn't just hiding something. She was plotting. And her plan was nearly complete. The next morning, Emily acted like nothing had changed. She placed a cup of coffee in front of me, her smile warm but hollow, a a performance I was too exhausted to confront. "How's work going?" she asked, concern laced with something I no longer trusted. I forced a weak smile. "Fine." Every fiber of me screamed to confront her, to demand the truth, but I knew I had to be strategic. Anger without a plan would only give her the upper hand. Then came the suggestion that set off every alarm bell. "We should reorganize our finances," she said smoothly, placing her phone face down, as always. "Just as a precaution. You never know what life might throw at us." I narrowed my eyes but kept my voice calm, hiding the fury building inside. "What do you mean, reorganize?" She spoke with the practiced ease of someone moving chess pieces on a board I hadn't realized I was playing. "Consolidate our assets. If anything happens, it'll be easier to manage. I'll handle the paperwork, you just have to sign." My hands gripped the coffee cup so tightly the warmth did nothing to thaw the ice in my veins. This was it, the moment I'd been bracing for. I smiled, nodding slowly, hiding the storm in my mind. "Sounds reasonable. Can you show me the documents first?" Her flicker of surprise told me she hadn't expected compliance so quickly. But she recovered, masking it with ease. "Of course. I'll have them ready soon." I didn't wait for soon. As soon as Emily left for work, I called Mark, my lawyer and closest friend since college. My voice shook with urgency, barely holding together. "I need help. It's worse than I thought." I poured out everything, the whispered lies, the mysterious withdrawals, the message from Ilian Morrow. Mark listened silently, his calm anchoring me. "Daniel," he said firmly, "you need to move your assets. Now." I'd spent sleepless nights lying beside her, feeling the betrayal like a weight crushing my chest. Hearing those words gave me resolve. "We'll set up a trust," Mark continued. "Everything valuable goes into your name alone. No one can touch it, not even Emily." I swallowed hard, my voice steady despite the fear gnawing at my heart. "Do it." Within days, the apartment, the savings, the investments, all were protected, locked away from Emily's reach. No matter what she tried, she couldn't take what was mine. A few days later, Emily came home early, a new confidence lighting her eyes, one that churned my stomach. "Daniel," she said, placing a thick stack of papers on the table, voice cold and rehearsed, "we need to talk." I stared down at the documents, heart steady but pounding inside. "I want a divorce," she declared, every word clipped, like she'd practiced them 100 times. "We've grown apart," she added, voice smooth as ice. "It's better this way." I raised an eyebrow, masking the ache in my chest. "Really?" Her facade cracked for a moment, then she pressed on, "Yes. It's for the best." I stayed silent, letting the moment stretch, forcing her to feel the weight of her own words. Then I pushed the papers back. "Before we talk," I said slowly, "there's something you should know." Her confident gaze faltered. "What is it?" "I've already moved all my assets." The room thickened, heavy as a storm. She froze, eyes wide, jaw tight. The realization hit. "You can't touch anything anymore." My voice was unwavering, though my heart thudded fiercely. "Everything is legally protected. The apartment, the savings, the investments, they're all secure." Emily's silence was loud. Rage flickered behind her eyes, but she was caught off guard. For the first time, the power had shifted. Emily didn't speak for a long moment. Her hands clenched into fists so tight her knuckles went white. The shock of losing control was written all over her face, the carefully constructed mask slipping. I stood tall, meeting her stunned gaze with a calm smile, though inside I trembled beneath the weight of what I'd done. "You were right about one thing," I said softly. "No one can predict what's going to happen." Her eyes darted away, searching for a way to strike back, to regain the upper hand. But it was too late. For the first time, I held the cards. Emily gritted her teeth, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes, the predator cornered but still dangerous. "We'll see each other in court, Daniel," she hissed, voice low and sharp like a blade. "You won't get away with this easily." I smirked, holding her gaze, refusing to let her see the flicker of fear her words sparked inside me. "Then go ahead," I replied quietly. "Try me." I turned and walked away, a surge of quiet victory coursing through me. The battle was far from over, but the war had changed. 3 days later, an envelope arrived from Emily's lawyer, a formal divorce petition demanding half of all assets, including my apartment, joint accounts, and even monthly support. She claimed I'd forced her to sacrifice her career for our marriage. Lies. Pure and simple. I laughed bitterly, rage burning hotter than ever. I had carried the weight of our life together, pouring my soul into our shared dreams, while she schemed behind my back. She wanted everything. I was prepared to give her nothing. I called Mark immediately, voice tight with anger and determination. "We've got a problem." I flipped through the papers, each demand a fresh wound. Mark chuckled, calm but fierce. "Let me guess, she's not backing down." "Of course not," I said grimly. "She wants half, the apartment, support payments." Mark scoffed. "She thinks she has a shot." "No way. She'll try to wear you down with every trick she's got." "Then we fight," I said, voice steady despite the fear knotting in my stomach. Mark nodded. She picked the wrong opponent. Days later, Mark and I sat poring over the case files. Every page a reminder of what I'd thought was a shared life, now crumbling beneath lies. "She doesn't stand a chance," Mark said, slamming the folder shut. "You transferred your assets before she filed. Legally, she has no claim. And the support requests? She has no grounds. Your income has always been primary." Relief washed over me, mingling with a constant unease. The war wasn't over yet. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Be careful, Daniel. Emily doesn't play by the rules." A cold chill ran down my spine. But I pushed the fear aside. I wouldn't let her break me. A few days later, things shifted. At work, whispers followed me like shadows. Colleagues shot sideways glances, hushed conversations stopped when I entered. My nerves frayed, sleepless nights catching up. Then, my assistant, Rachel, walked into my office, worry etched on her face. "There's something you need to see," she said, placing a printed sheet on my desk. It was a post on an anonymous forum, CFO embezzling company funds to hide money during divorce. "Can someone investigate?" Below, dozens of comments. One chillingly specific, "I know who it is, Daniel." My name twisted into a lie that threatened to shatter everything I'd worked for. Rage burned hot and unrelenting. "It's Emily," I said coldly, voice steady despite the storm inside. Rachel nodded, eyes filled with concern. "If this spreads, it could ruin your career." I took a deep breath, forcing calm even as my hands trembled. I had to act. Fast. That evening, I met with Mark, pouring out the latest betrayal, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. He frowned, eyes narrowing. "She's going for character assassination. Trying to make you lose your cool." "I won't," I said firmly, though my heart ached with the relentless attacks. "What's the plan?" I asked. Mark's eyes glinted with resolve. "First, we send a cease and desist. If she spreads another lie, we sue for defamation and intentional damage to your reputation." A spark of hope ignited inside me, a fire burning away the fear. Emily thought she could break me with lies. She was wrong. 3 days later, Mark slid a new document across the table. "Emily just filed a lawsuit accusing you of financial fraud," he said, voice calm but tense. Claims you embezzled money from joint accounts before transferring assets. And she's not alone, he added. There's a co-plaintiff. I opened the file, eyes landing on a name that sent a shiver down my spine, Ilian Morrow. Emily had an accomplice, someone working with her to tear me down. Who is Ilian? I asked, voice dry, trying to mask the fear clawing at me. Mark's expression darkened. Known for forging financial documents, tied to multiple lawsuits, but never caught. I flipped through the filings, anger rising with each page. These transactions aren't mine, I snapped, voice trembling with fury. The betrayal cut deeper than before. Mark nodded, steadying me. We suspected as much. But we have to act fast. This could get serious. Mark's confident smile was the first flicker of hope I'd felt in weeks. Can we prove the documents are fake? I asked, desperation barely hidden. Not only can we prove it, we'll turn their forgery against them, he said sharply. We brought in a forensic financial expert. For days, I lived in a haze of anxiety, obsessively checking my phone, jumping at every notification. Then, finally, Mark called me into his office, eyes gleaming with rare excitement. You're going to like this, he said, sliding a file across the desk. They made a critical mistake. I blinked, heart racing. Mark tapped a page, tracing a list of bank statements. The account was opened in July. But their documents show transactions from May. They were too confident. Didn't even double-check. A slow, triumphant smile spread across my face as the weight of fear began to lift. They just destroyed themselves, I whispered, voice thick with relief. Mark's eyes blazed with determination. We're not just dismissing this. We're suing for defamation and presenting forged evidence in court. 3 days later, the countersuit was filed. The words rang with justice. Defendant Emily Reynolds, along with accomplice Ilian Morrow, knowingly submitted falsified evidence to defame and financially harm plaintiff Daniel Thompson. We demand compensation for damages caused. Each lie was another brick in their wall of undoing. Emily wasn't just going to lose, she would pay for every betrayal, every moment she made me doubt myself. That evening, I sat alone with a rare moment of peace, coffee warming my hands. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A growling voice hissed through the line. You think you're so smart, don't you? I smirked, heart steady despite the venom. Hello, Emily. Got the notice from your lawyer. Her voice trembled with desperation. You'll regret this. You have no idea who you're messing with. I leaned back, fearless. No, Emily. You're the one who doesn't know. The line went dead. I set the phone down, a smile lingering. She was grasping at straws. And I was ready. The courtroom was thick with tension, every eye fixed on the two of us. I sat upright, heart steady but alert, eyes locked on Emily across the room. Her tailored suit was sharp, but her hands gripped the table so tightly her knuckles were white, betraying the unease she tried so hard to hide. The judge began flipping through the documents, his voice calm but authoritative as it cut through the silence. Based on the evidence before the court, he stated, the transactions claimed by Ms. Reynolds to have been made by Mr. Thompson are impossible. A murmur rippled through the room. I caught the twitch in Emily's eye, the tight clench of her jaw. She knew what was coming. The judge continued, a forensic expert has confirmed that these transactions predate the opening of the plaintiff's account. This clearly indicates the documents presented by Ms. Reynolds and her associate are fabricated. Beside me, Mark let out a quiet laugh. I felt a surge of satisfaction, a fire that had been smoldering for months now blazing free. The judge's gavel struck with sharp finality. Due to the submission of falsified evidence, he declared, all claims by Ms. Reynolds are hereby dismissed. Furthermore, Ms. Reynolds is ordered to cover the legal costs incurred by Mr. Thompson. Emily's shoulders slumped, the carefully crafted facade crumbling before everyone's eyes. Her attorney opened his mouth to protest, but the judge raised a hand to silence him. Additionally, the judge added, an investigation will be launched into the documents submitted by Ms. Reynolds and her accomplice for potential criminal charges. Emily froze. The weight of her mistake crashing down. This was no longer just a divorce case, it was a legal disaster that could unravel her entire life. The gavel fell again. Court is adjourned. Mark smiled, eyes sparkling with triumph. A perfect knockout. Emily's steps were heavy as she left the courtroom, the armor of confidence she once wore now shattered. I slowed my pace behind her, letting her feel my quiet triumph. She turned back briefly, eyes filled with a mix of anger and defeat. I tilted my head, a slow smile spreading across my face. Are we done here? She said nothing. Her silence spoke volumes. Outside, I took a deep breath, the fresh air cleansing the tension from my body, washing away months of fear and betrayal. I had won. Not just the legal battle, but the war to reclaim my life. Weeks later, whispers about Emily's failed scheme spread like wildfire. Colleagues talked, the company dropped her, and her reputation, once pristine, shattered like glass. She sold her luxury car, put her apartment on the market, each loss a testament to her own downfall. I sat in my apartment one quiet evening, a glass of wine in hand, city lights stretching endlessly outside my window. My phone buzzed, a message from Mark. Congratulations, Daniel. She's completely fallen apart. I smiled, setting the phone down. The scars of betrayal remained, but they no longer defined me. My home was a sanctuary, free from manipulation, from threats, from fear. For the first time in months, I breathed. My battle wasn't just about money or courtrooms. It was a brutal education in trust, resilience, and self-protection. I once believed love meant sharing everything, finances, dreams, vulnerabilities, without barriers. But reality taught me trust requires preparation, especially when power and money are involved. Emily thought I'd crumble under pressure, that she could control me. She was wrong. I stayed calm, planned carefully, and struck back at the right moment. Her arrogance exposed the cracks in her lies, cracks I used to bring her down. Victory isn't revenge. It's reclaiming yourself. Standing tall when others try to tear you down. I'm Daniel Thompson. This is my story, one of betrayal, of battle, and ultimately, of rising stronger. If you've ever faced betrayal or hardship, remember, you have the power to fight back. To protect yourself. To win. What do you think of my journey? Share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories of strength, resilience, and the unbreakable human spirit.